Salam. Thank you, Ilahi, for inviting me to this roundtable discussion on honor killings and including the Islamic Republic of Pakistan. I am honored and delighted to be in the company of distinguished and courageous speakers representing Iraq, Kurdistan, Turkey, Afghanistan, and Iran. I like to give a background about myself rather than just focusing on my work related to violence against women. I have even included a map of Pakistan so listeners who may not be familiar with the country know its location in relationship to the countries being discussed today. I was born in Hyderabad in a province called Sindh, Pakistan, but my early childhood was spent in Quetta, Pakistan. Hyderabad is located south of the country, and Quetta is in the northern western of the country, bordering the Kandahar province of Afghanistan. So when I was asked by Ilahi to join this important roundtable discussion, I was somewhat reluctant, as I come not as an expert on the issue. I have experience working on violence against women issues, but I knew I had to do considerable research. And when I sent this announcement about the event, one of my cousins requested this. May Allah bless you with the courage and foresightedness to speak the truth. Ameen. I replied to her, and I stress to you, I will do my best. So I began my research, and there is fairly extensive information written by scholars, women activists, local NGOs in Pakistan. And, Pakistan has faced many challenges. By the time I was born, the country was only 4 years old. The partition of Pakistan and India was a very traumatic and violent event. According to one CNN news story, an estimated 1 million people died during one of the greatest mass migrations in the world. Reportedly, 75,000 women were abducted and brutally raped by people belonging to the opposite faith. Since my parents left the country when I was young for overseas, and except for a few visits, there is a void of history for me of what took place thereafter, except for what I read and saw on television. Since there is a 10-minute allotment to speak, I framed this presentation like this. I highlighted major legal origin and the developments until 1990. I've included some religious reference, as well as some approaches to countering key challenges facing women and girls in Pakistan. I will not speak on all the slides as they are clearly stated and referenced. From the scholarly research and position papers, there is one slide that needs to be pointed out, and that is the one on the Indian Penal Code 1860. The code brought in the tradition of treating the offenders of honor killings with leniency and latitude. The code is a colonial product which, in my opinion, appears to have left a number of thorns within the legal framework. Now, research and position papers also show that in 1990, Pakistan introduced its version of the Islamic criminal law, which allowed for compromise between the parties of the murder cases. Now, in spite of the fatwas and what is clearly spelled out in the Quran, as well as the subsequent laws, which will hopefully be described in later parts, protests and advocacy by NGOs and the women activists, as well as the international organizations, honor killings continue to rise. And it is not enough to say, well, it does not happen in our family. Honor killings is one form of violence against women and girls in Pakistan. Statistics on all forms of violence against women and girls are staggering and may be examined in future parts. In reviewing the data, the research, the facts, I tried to reach out to the women-led NGOs in Pakistan, but I was unable to reach a response at this time. So I reached out to a nonprofit here in the United States that I know that has been empowering girls and communities through their programs across the country, the Merit Grants for Young Women, MGYW. I've known them since early inception, and I know the founder. They raise funds to provide scholarship to girls in schools in Pakistan. They have sought partnerships locally, provide supplies, as well as facilitating now access to technology in rural areas for the girls in schools. This is one way to address the disparity and inequity that still exist in education for girls in the country. Now, Mrs. Nasira Zara is also seeking collaborations to launch key programs to help women and girls in her region, Keris, that lies in northern Pakistan. Presently, there are a number of unknowns in Pakistan with regard to its economic and political future. Knowing the facts, knowing the challenges, there is still a lot that can be done for women and girls in Pakistan. Establish a working relationship with organizations like MGYW that have staffing, connections, partnerships with schools, NGOs, and local governments on the ground, and assist them to work mutually to raise funds if needed. For the nonprofits and activists that are overseas, reach out to the local NGOs as much as possible and ask them what support do they want and need. Create this collective discussions such as this one to continue to raise awareness and research, and also perhaps support individuals like Mrs. Nasira Zara to launch projects that will be received positively in her village or villages like that, and connect with the local mosque and local religious leaders to create change. The challenges are immense, but with the facilitation of social media, outreach has become easier and change will happen. But let us hope for Pakistan it does not take another 75 years. Thank you. Salam.